February 1637, Amsterdam, a single tulip bulb sells for 5,000 guilders. That is enough to buy a Grand Canal house in the most expensive city in Europe. A house with a coach and an 80-foot garden. Or you could feed, clothe, and house an entire Dutch family for half a lifetime. One flower bulb. 1 year of someone's salary could not buy a single tulip. 10 years of salary barely covered the cost. But here is the absurd part. Most of these tulip bulbs never left the ground. People were buying and selling contracts for flowers they had never seen. Flowers that had not even bloomed yet. Flowers that might not even exist. How did an entire nation convince itself that a flower was worth more than a house? And why are we watching the exact same insanity unfold right now with NFTs and digital images? This is the story of tulip mania. By the end, you will understand the 7-step pattern that creates every speculative bubble. See how it played out in 1637, and recognize it happening again today. This is not just history. This is a warning. It is autumn 1593. Vienna. Carolus Clusius is a botanist. He runs the imperial gardens for the Habsburg emperor. In his greenhouse sits something extraordinary. Tulip bulbs from Turkey. Delicate, exotic, unlike anything Europeans have ever seen. The flowers bloom in colors that seem impossible. Deep reds, bright yellows, and the rarest ones, the broken tulips, display flames of color dancing across their petals like living paintings. Clusius understands what he has. He guards his collection obsessively. He will not sell, he will not share. He wants to control who gets access to these remarkable flowers. In 1593, he accepts a position at Leiden University in the Netherlands. He brings his tulips with him. Big mistake. One night thieves break into his garden. They steal his entire collection within months. Tulip bulbs are spreading across Holland. The theft that Clusius tried to prevent becomes the spark that ignites a revolution. It is 1610. The Netherlands. Walk through Amsterdam and you see wealth everywhere. This is the Dutch Golden Age. The city has transformed from a fishing village into the richest trading hub in the world. Ships arrive daily from Asia, Africa, the Americas. They bring silk, spices, porcelain, gold. Dutch merchants are making fortunes. The middle class is exploding. People have money, lots of it. But they also have a problem. How do you show you are rich in a society that frowns on obvious displays of wealth? The Dutch are Calvinist, modest, restrained. You cannot build a palace. You cannot dress in gold. You cannot throw lavish parties without social consequences. But you can garden. And in gardening you can collect rare exotic specimens that demonstrate taste, knowledge, and yes, wealth. Enter the tulip. The flower arrives at the perfect moment. It is beautiful, it is rare, it is foreign and exotic. Most importantly, it is difficult to grow and impossible to predict. Here is what makes tulips special. They take years to grow from seed to flowering bulb. A tulip infected with a mosaic virus creates those stunning flame patterns that everyone desires. But the virus is unpredictable. You plant a bulb, you wait, you hope. Maybe it blooms with spectacular patterns. Maybe it does not. The uncertainty creates scarcity. The scarcity creates value. And the value creates obsession. In this world, wealthy merchants compete to own the rarest varieties. Having a prized tulip in your garden says you are cultured, sophisticated, connected. It becomes a status symbol, more powerful than gold. To most people, this seems reasonable. Wealthy people have always collected rare objects. But beneath the surface, something else is forming. A market. Meet Paulus van Beresteyn. He is a prosperous merchant in Haarlem. He loves tulips. He has a spectacular garden. He owns several rare varieties. He believes these flowers represent not just beauty but value. Real, tangible value. To him, tulips are an investment as solid as land or ships. He is wrong, but he does not know that yet. Then there is Jan Bruegel the Younger. He is an artist. He paints satirical works. He watches the tulip obsession growing. He notices something disturbing. People are not buying tulips for beauty anymore. They are buying them for profit. Pure speculation. He paints warnings. He creates allegories showing fools riding wagons toward disaster. Nobody listens. Not yet. And then there is the middleman. The professional tulip trader. He understands the truth that nobody wants to admit. These bulbs are not really worth fortunes. But as long as someone else believes they are, he can make money. He buys, he sells, he takes his cut. He knows it cannot last. He does not care. He will get out before it collapses. What none of them know yet is that they are creating the first recorded speculative bubble in history. The pattern forming in 1630s Holland will repeat for the next 400 years. Every financial crisis, every market crash, Every bubble will follow the same steps now being set in motion. November 1634, the tulip trade explodes. Here is what changes everything. The growing season for tulips is short. They bloom in April and May for about 1 week. Then they go dormant from June to September. During dormancy, you can dig them up and transport them. But that is only a few months per year when actual bulbs change hands. What about the rest of the year? Someone has a brilliant idea. Futures contracts. Instead of waiting to buy actual bulbs, you buy a contract promising delivery of bulbs at the end of the season. You can buy and sell these contracts year-round. Now the market never closes. Trading accelerates, and here is where it gets interesting. You do not need money to trade. You can buy a tulip contract with another tulip contract, or with a promise, or with credit. Leverage enters the system. At first it seems genius. Farmers can lock in prices before harvest. Buyers can secure rare varieties in advance. Everyone benefits. The market is more efficient. Risk is distributed. Adam Smith would approve. Except something unexpected happens. The contracts become more valuable than the bulbs. People start trading contracts they have no intention of honoring. Buying tulips they will never take delivery of. Selling tulips they do not own. The market detaches from reality. Adrian Pow tries it first. He is a regent, a government official, respectable. He buys a contract for a Semper Augustus bulb, the rarest variety in Holland. He pays 3,000 guilders, that is 3 times what a master craftsman earns in a year. Within 2 months he sells the contract for 4,200 guilders. He made 1,200 guilders profit. He never saw the bulb, he never planted anything, he just bought paper and sold paper. He tells his friends, they cannot believe it. One friend tries it. He buys contracts for Viceroy tulips. He invests 500 guilders within 3 weeks. Those contracts are worth 900 guilders. He makes 400 guilders, almost a full year's salary, for 3 weeks of holding paper. He tells his brother. His brother tells his business partner. His business partner tells everyone at the tavern. Within 6 months, thousands of people are trading tulip contracts. Then it accelerates beyond anyone's control. By December 1636, the market has gone completely insane. Professional growers are shocked. They watch ordinary people who cannot tell a tulip from an onion, trading futures contracts worth more than houses. Weavers in Harlem abandon their looms. They can make more in a day trading tulips than in a month of weaving. Chimney sweeps, maidservants, farmers, sailors. Everyone is in the tulip trade. Everyone is making money. Everyone knows someone who got rich. A famous story circulates. A sailor visiting from abroad sees a tulip bulb sitting on a counter at a merchant's office. He thinks it is an onion. He eats it with his herring. The merchant discovers his Semper Augustus bulb has been eaten. The value, enough to feed the entire ship's crew for a year. The sailor is thrown in prison. The story may or may not be true, but people believe it, because by December 1636, such values seem normal. Prices are no longer based on the flowers. They are based on pure speculation. The belief that someone else will pay more tomorrow than you paid today. That is it. That is the entire logic. A Gouda tulip that cost 20 guilders in November now sells for 225 guilders in January. At the auctions in Alkmaar and Haarlem, men bid against each other with money they do not have for tulips they will never see. The auctioneer calls prices. Hands shoot up. Bids double, triple. Nobody wants to be left out. Anyone who questions this is called a fool. The believers have an answer for everything. This time is different. Tulips are unique. The Dutch love gardens. The wealthy will always buy. Foreign buyers are coming. The market will keep growing. Sound familiar? By February 1637, even churches are involved. Deacons speculate with parish funds. Orphanages invest their endowments. Widows bet their pensions. A brewery in France is exchanged for a single tulip bulb. Land, houses, businesses, all traded for flowers that have not bloomed. And then comes the peak moment. February 5, 1637. Alkmaar, an auction is held to benefit the orphans of Wouter Barthelmeus. He was a tulip speculator and innkeeper who died. His estate must be sold. The auction includes 99 lots of tulips. The prices are astronomical. A pound of Vita Krunen tulips sells for 1,668 guilders. Admiral van Enkhuizen bulbs go for 5,200 guilders each. The average price per bulb would employ a master carpenter for 2 years. The rare varieties command prices far higher. This is the top. Nobody knows it yet. The trigger comes in early February. Nobody knows exactly when or where. The most common story says it happened in Haarlem, a tavern, a usual location for tulip trading. A florist offers bulbs at what he considers a reasonable price. Trying to make a sale, nobody bids. Strange, unusual, but not alarming. He drops his price a little. Still no bidders. He cuts his price again. Nothing for the first time. Sellers outnumber buyers. At first people think it is temporary. Just one bad day. Just one cautious crowd. The market will recover tomorrow, but then it happens again, and again. Word spreads through Amsterdam, through Haarlem, through Leiden. Buyers are disappearing, not just declining to bid, actually disappearing, refusing to show up. Within a week, panic sets in. The tulip contract that sold for 1,000 guilders cannot find a buyer at 500 guilders, then not at 200, then not at 50. Sellers are desperate. They drop prices by 90% in a single day. Still nothing. Nobody wants tulips at any price. The bottom has fallen out. Abraham Castellin owns contracts worth 15,000 guilders. On paper, he is wealthy. He could buy 3 canal houses. But when he tries to sell, nobody will offer more than 50 guilders for the entire lot. His wealth has evaporated. Not gradually, not in months, in 3 days. From 15,000 to 50, he is ruined. Jan Hendricks van Dam is a Mennonite merchant. He invested everything in tulip bulbs. Real bulbs sitting in his garden at peak prices. His collection was worth 100,000 guilders. He was richer than most nobility. Now he tries to sell. He offers his tulips for 10,000 guilders. No buyers. He drops to 5,000. Nothing. He offers them for 1,000 guilders. Still nothing. He eventually sells his entire collection for 400 guilders, less than 0.5% of peak value. Catharina Barenster owned a beautiful home in Amsterdam. She mortgaged it to buy tulip contracts. She invested 8,000 guilders, borrowed money. Her contracts are now worthless. She cannot pay the mortgage. The lender forecloses. She loses the house. She is 63 years old. She ends up in poverty. But some people are fine. The professional traders who got out early, they saw the warning signs. They noticed trading volume dropping. They watched new buyers disappearing. They sold in January. They kept their profits. They are among the few who walked away rich. Farmers are destroyed in a different way. They actually grew tulips, real flowers. They have warehouses full of bulbs nobody wants. They cannot sell them for food money. They cannot use them as collateral. They are sitting on tons of worthless inventory. Many go bankrupt. The courts flood with lawsuits. Hundreds of cases. Buyers refuse to honor contracts. They argue the prices were insane. They claim they were drunk when they made the deals. Sellers demand payment. They insist contracts are binding. The Dutch parliament gets involved. The Florists Guild tries to mediate. On February 24, 1637, the Guild makes a decision. Any futures contract written after November 30, 1636, can be voided by paying 10% of face value. If you owe 1,000 guilders for a tulip contract, you can cancel it for 100 guilders. The government later ratifies this. This seems merciful, but it destroys the market completely. It tells everyone that tulip contracts are not real contracts. They are optional. This makes trading impossible. Who will trust a market where contracts can be voided at will? Prices collapse even further. The few people still trying to trade abandon the market entirely. The aftermath is chaotic. Economic historians debate how damaging it really was. Some records show hundreds of bankruptcies in Amsterdam between 1635 and 1637, double the normal rate. Other evidence suggests the damage was limited to tulip traders. The broader Dutch economy barely noticed. Ships kept sailing, trade continued. The Republic remained wealthy, but the social damage was deep. Trust was shattered. Middle-class families who lost everything blamed the rich for creating the bubble. The rich blamed the lower classes for being greedy and stupid. Satirical pamphlets flood the market. Moral lessons about greed and foolishness. The Dutch are humiliated. They spent 2 years obsessed with flowers. They feel ashamed. The psychological scars last for generations. So what really happened? History books say tulip mania was mass delusion, irrational exuberance. People went crazy over flowers. But that is not just incomplete. It misses the deeper mechanism. Here is what actually happened. Tulip mania was not about tulips. It was about a new financial instrument. Futures, contracts. The Dutch had invented sophisticated financial markets, stock exchanges, credit systems, options trading. They applied these tools to tulips. That created liquidity. Liquidity created speculation. Speculation created leverage. Leverage created a bubble. Let me break this down. Step 1. Create a market for something rare and desirable. Tulips fit perfectly. They are scarce, beautiful, high status. Step 2. Introduce leverage through credit and futures contracts. Now people can buy more than they can afford. Step 3. Early adopters make real money. This is not a scam. The first investors genuinely profit. Step 4. Social proof kicks in. If your neighbor got rich, you want to as well. Step 5. Prices detach from fundamentals. Nobody asks what a tulip is worth to plant in a garden. They only ask what the next person will pay. Think of it like this. Imagine a game of musical chairs. The music is playing. Everyone is dancing. As long as the music plays, you can keep trading your chair for a better one. Make profit with each trade, but you know, deep down, that when the music stops, someone will be left standing. The game only works if you believe you will not be that person, but here is what nobody talks about. The people who made real money were not the ones buying tulips at the top. They were the auctioneers, the middlemen, the tavern owners who hosted trading sessions and charged fees, the professional traders who understood leverage and got out early. A wealthy merchant could buy tulip contracts with credit, sell them before delivery for a profit, and pocket the difference without ever touching a flower. This was legal, rational, smart even, but it required perfect timing and insider knowledge. The people who lost were the ones who came late. Ordinary folks who believed the story, who thought prices would keep rising forever, who did not understand they were the exit liquidity for the professionals. The system was designed to transfer wealth from optimistic amateurs to sophisticated insiders. The longer it continued, the more wealth transferred. This was not an accident. This was not stupidity. This was game theory playing out. Now let me show you the pattern. This is the bubble formula. It happens every time. First, the new asset class. Something rare and unique enters the market. Tulips in 1637, internet stocks in 1999, cryptocurrency in 2021. The asset seems different this time. Special, unlike anything before. Second, easy money. Credit expands. Leverage increases. People can buy more than they can afford. In 1637, it was futures contracts. In 2008, it was subprime mortgages. In 2021, it was margin trading on crypto exchanges. Third, social proof. Everyone is doing it. Your neighbor is getting rich. You feel stupid for not participating. FOMO becomes overwhelming. Caution is mocked. Skeptics are ridiculed. Fourth, complexity. The system becomes hard to understand. Futures, contracts, derivatives. Smart contracts, complexity provides cover. If you do not understand it, you cannot question it. Experts assure you it makes sense. Fifth, peak euphoria. Critics are silenced. Bad news is ignored. Prices reach absurd levels, but nobody cares. New paradigm thinking takes over. Old rules do not apply anymore. This time is different. Sixth, the trigger. One small crack becomes a cascade. In tulips, it was one auction with no bidders. In 2008, it was one hedge fund failing. The trigger itself is almost never the real cause. It just reveals that the foundation was already crumbling. Seventh, the blame game. Nobody accepts responsibility. Buyers blame sellers. Sellers blame buyers. Everyone blames the government. The government blames human nature. The cycle of denial and finger-pointing can last longer than the bubble itself. This pattern has repeated in every bubble. South Sea Company, Mississippi Company, Railway Mania, Stock Market 1929, .com 2000, Housing 2008, Cryptocurrency 2021, NFTs 2022. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now let us talk about 2025. Right now, the NFT market is experiencing what some call a quiet evolution. Others call it a prolonged collapse. The numbers tell a clear story. In January 2022, NFT trading volume hit $6 billion in a single month. Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. CryptoPunks reached millions. Everyone said NFTs were the future of digital ownership. The market does not need to trick you, you trick yourself. You see your neighbor making money. You see charts going up and to the right. You see experts on TV saying this is the future. You feel the fear of missing out. It is biological. It is powerful. It overrides logic. Tulip mania was not unique because the Dutch were stupid. It was universal because humans are human. The same drives that made Dutch merchants bid fortunes for flower bulbs made investors buy Pits.com stock in 1999, made people buy Miami condos with no money down in 2006, made crypto traders buy shitcoins in 2021. But here is what this story really teaches us. The bubble is not the disaster. The disaster is believing you are immune to the pattern. Every generation thinks they have evolved past the mistakes of their grandparents. Every generation has better technology, better markets, better information, better education. Every generation learns the same lesson the hard way. The question is not whether bubbles will happen again. They will. Human nature has not changed in 400 years. The question is whether you will recognize the one you are in, whether you will hear the warning signs, whether you will resist the crowd. Understanding this does not give you a crystal ball. You cannot predict when bubbles will burst. Plenty of people called the housing bubble in 2003. It did not pop until 2008, being right to early costs just as much as being wrong. Markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, but you gain something more valuable than prediction. Pattern recognition. When everyone around you is buying something they do not understand, with money they do not have because everyone else is doing it, you will feel the pull. You are human. The FOMO will be real, but you will also hear a voice, a quiet voice saying, "I have seen this before." That voice is history speaking. Listen to it. You cannot control markets. You cannot control what other people do with their money. You cannot stop bubbles from forming, but you can control your own decisions. You can control whether you follow the crowd off the cliff. You can control whether you learn from the past. The Dutch who survived tulip mania with their wealth intact were not the ones who got rich from tulips. They were the ones who never bought tulips in the first place, or the ones who sold early, or the ones who owned real assets, land, ships, businesses that produced actual value. They understood that a flower is just a flower, that paper contracts are just paper, that real wealth comes from real value. That lesson is timeless. Whether the bubble is tulips, stocks, houses, or NFTs, the principle is the same. Know what you own, know why it has value, know the difference between price and worth. And when everyone around you is losing their minds over the hot new thing, remember that in 1637, reasonable people traded houses for flowers, and they were certain they were right. Now I want to hear from you. What current market or trend do you think fits this pattern? NFTs, crypto, AI stocks, meme coins. What am I missing? What pattern do you see that I do not? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The best analysis often comes from you, not me. If this changed how you see speculation and bubbles, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more economic history that actually matters. Next time, we are diving into the South Sea bubble of 1720, when a fake trading company destroyed the British economy and created the first insider trading scandal. Another pattern hiding in plain sight. Another lesson they do not teach in school. Remember, history does not repeat, but it rhymes. And right now, it is rhyming loud. The patterns are everywhere. Learn to see them. See you in the next one.